It's time for Declare Your Independence with Ernest Hancock.
Believe me when I say we have a difficult time ahead of us. But if we are to be prepared for it, we must first shed our fear of it. I stand here without fear because I remember that I am here not because of the path that lies before me, but because of the path that lies behind me. I remember that for 100 years we have fought these machines. And after a century of war, I remember that which matters most. We are still here! Tonight, let us make them remember we are not afraid!
No fear here on Declare Your Independence of me, Ernest Hancock, from the Northern Desert. Oh, it's very nice out here, and we're down in the 80s. I had to turn on the fan. You know, it was getting hot. You know, but we're going to the Great White North with Dan Dix. Dan Dix. He's going to be explaining it to us. Now, we're going to be promoting him on the site because we got to get some site promotion going on for Press for Truth. I'm always, every time I go, I'm like, damn, that we got like 3 of his videos up on the site. And we're going to talk about all of them because I'm telling you, it be a coming. Here we go. And where is it happening more than most places? Canada, wherever, you know, the British have their money pictures on. I don't even know. Do they got King Charles on the money now? Or is it still Queen Elizabeth or what? I don't know. They change it yet, Dan?
Yeah, they've made the switch. We're starting to see the king all over the place now.
Oh, yay. You know, I feel so much better. All right. Now, this is where all the British money is. You have South Africa, New Zealand, Australia, Canada. They're still like part of the empire. They got veto power, the Queen's Privy Council kind of thing. When I found that out, we were thinking, you know, a couple of decades ago, where are we going to go? Want to be English speaking? We were looking at New Zealand, and then I found out, you know, you go be activist and you challenge anything up, and the monarchy and Britain go, nah, we don't like that. I go, well, you're definitely not going to like me, so I guess we're not going. So the United States seems to be the best place so far, but China is just eclipsing us in technology and the ability and speed, and but we got to have your number. We got to put you on a social list. We gotta. So I'm looking at what I need from Dan Dix is his perspective and his research, because he is definitely, I think I'll decline guy. He's an investigative journalist, award-winning documentary filmmaker. He's a founder of an independent media outlet known as Press for Truth, which produces videos and films directly challenging the mainstream, the lamestream media, the media so last century, their narratives of events that shape our world. Dan frequently travels around the world. Are you traveling that much anymore, or they got your number now?
As much as I can, whenever they're not making me a prisoner in my own country because of some bogus, vaccine passport. But other than that, I've been getting around.
Well, this is, you have so much to cover now in Canada. I mean, just the most recent stuff is they're starting to take your property. This is something that people didn't think would happen. That they wouldn't do that. That'd be wrong. But we have all this UCC code changes in the U.S. to where your equities, your broker goes bankrupt, the great take, and they just it's kind of a sort of almost your stock, but we got to let the bankruptcy court decide. It might be the brokers. And I'm going, whoa. So we had David Webb on a couple of times. I knew exactly what he was talking about. We were covering this back in July of 2008. I could see the changes that they were making. So is there any outrage from the Canadian public on this? Explain what just happened and what the threat is.
Sure. Well, there's been a case going on now for, I believe, the last 5 years in terms of the Supreme Court of Canada's case against a piece of property in Richmond, British Columbia. And we're talking like 800 acres or so, 7.5 square kilometers. This is a massive piece of property that includes businesses, golf courses, factories, and private homes, where you have an ancient Indian tribe called the Cowichan tribe. And they are claiming title to the land. And a recent Supreme Court ruling just a couple of months ago has basically gone in their favor, which means that your private property can essentially be handed over, your title, your deed can be signed over to this tribe if they claim it to be their land. And so here we have like ancient claims coming for your property. So the mayor of Richmond, BC, just recently sent out a letter, and this is what recently went viral, because he's warning private property homeowners in Richmond, BC, that, hey, this thing might get settled soon, and you may have someone knocking on your door soon asking you for your keys. Yeah, like honestly, it's a land grab that's starting in Richmond, British Columbia, but honestly, this is something every Canadian needs to be concerned with, because if these, tribes can make these claims in courts, in the Supreme Court of Canada, like, there's nothing stopping them from going for other chunks of land all around Canada. So kind of Richmond, BC is the ground zero, kind of where everything is starting with this whole land grab. But, this could potentially spread. So I recently made a video kind of warning Canadians that, look, this is marching into new territory, new unprecedented times, where you think your private property is safe. You think you own the land that you're on. Not necessarily anymore. It's all kind of hanging on a maybe by a judicial thread. So it's very, very concerning for not just homeowners. We're talking businesses. And the like is what they're potentially coming for under this new Supreme Court ruling. Now, it's not set in stone yet. They have appealed this. The Richmond kind of mayor appealed it, and they're having a town meeting. I think it could be today or tomorrow, I believe. They're having everybody come out to voice their concerns about this. So, I mean, there's a small sliver of a chance that the Supreme Court may back out on this if enough people, raise their concerns. But at this stage in the game, it looks like this thing might march on, where these ancient kind of tribes can claim that it's their land, and that your deeds are null and void. So crazy times.
Well, who instigated this? This is a, woke government of, we want to, do what's right by the indigenous, whatever, vote for me kind of thing? Was it an attorney, from the government went to the tribes, hey, this is what we can do for you? Did they instigate it? Where did this originate?
Well, I think it was instigated by the tribes, but honestly, there has been this woke government that has been greasing the wheels of this to go in their favor for many, many years. I mean, I'm sure you've probably heard of the, what shall we call it, the Kamloops mass graves hoax hysteria, as I call it, where they claimed that they found 215 bodies in the ground, children from the residential school systems. And this had the entire country up in arms, and this had everybody flipping out about, literally hundreds of Catholic churches were burnt to the ground by people who responded to this news.
Okay, wait. Hundreds of Catholic churches? Does that hit the mainstream news, did it?
Well, they didn't report on the burning of churches as much as they did about the so-called mass graves that were found. And this is what happened. They did ground-penetrating radar a few years back, and they found what they believed to be unmarked graves of children who were taken from their parents, over 100 years ago and sent to these residential schools. And even the person who came up with the ground-penetrating radar evidence said back then that not until we have excavations is there going to be any real definitive proof. But anyways, the damage was already done. It went out into the minds of the masses that thousands of children have been murdered in a genocide by the Canadian government in connection with the RSCMP and the Catholic Church, who killed all these kids. Well, guess what? Not a single bone has been recovered. Not one single body has been found to this date. In fact, excavations have happened, and they found that the supposed mass graves were just anomalies, is what they call them now. In some cases, they were rocks. In some cases, they were just holes in the ground. So this is just a massive nothing burger. It was a lie, but again, it greased the wheels for the mainstream people in Canada to think that, oh, there's been this genocide against the natives in this country, when that's an absolute lie. And they're trying to paint this as Canada being systemically racist, when really, yes, a lot of children did die back then, but it was due to malnourishment. It was due to diseases that were running rampant, and it wasn't done on purpose. But we literally had the Pope Francis at the time show up here and apologize for the genocide that took place here. And again, that just put it into the minds of the masses that, these Native people deserve retribution. They deserve reconciliation. So now we have the Supreme Court of Canada. What as I would said, that whole situation greased the wheels for this, now saying it's time for reconciliation. And what they're talking about is giving them back their land at the expense of private homeowners in Richmond, British Columbia. So, again, this is just the beginning
out of what? A sense of justice? A sense of we need that land to do what we want. We can charge more tax. Something. What's the incentive? Votes? I mean, why are they doing it?
I mean, Richmond, BC is a beautiful place. I think it's just a land grab disguised through legalese as this being justice for the Native people and for what has been done to them. But it's all a ruse for a massive land grab. So that's really what that whole situation comes down to. And like I said, they're just kind of setting the precedent now for this to be able to spread all across Canada, because, as I said, there's really nothing stopping these Native tribes from making more claims that they own the land, and for other, areas of Canada to say, yep, what happened to you in the past was very bad, and to reconcile this, we're going to hand over the land. And this isn't hyperbole. You look at what happened in South Africa when they were having reconciliation. This led to seizures of farms and quite literally bloodshed in their soil. So I hope to God it doesn't get as bad as that here in Canada. But again, this is something similar. The Canadian government is going
so
for,
people understand where Richmond is. It's northeast of Victoria. I mean, it's right across the Washington state border. I mean, what, 10, 15, 20 miles or so. I mean, it's right on the border. So this is a
beautiful
sign.
Chunk of land. It is. It's a beautiful chunk of land. They are, claiming that these Native tribes are going to have the full-fledged right to fish and to hunt in this area, because that's what they've done for hundreds of years. And the claim is that they got there first, and we took the land from them. They always do land acknowledgements here in Canada too. Like, if you go to any kind of left-wing protest that I cover all the time to expose the nonsense, they always start their speeches with, we are on unceded territory. This is the Squamish Nation land, and yada yada, and it's spreading that idea that this is their land and not ours, when that's not how this works. But that's what they're trying to push. That's what they're for.
Well, you just know that this same kind of stuff has gone through waves here in America, and the Native movement.
Well, it's a UN agenda, really. It's a United Nations agenda under something called UNDRIP, UNDRIP, and also in Canada they passed something called Bill C-15, which is also kind of pushing this sort of stuff through legislation and bills that have been passed into law. So, yeah, it's a global phenomenon. It's a global problem that's happening right now.
To what end? I mean, this is a kind of stuff that you cover, and I'm wondering, there's a something, overall, what's that something? What's going on? What is the attempt on humanity?
Well, the big picture here is that in the long run, what they're going for is an eventual one world government, a new world order. And you can't have everybody united under their umbrella until certain individual sovereignties are relinquished. So there is a concentrated effort here to do away with sovereignty, national sovereignty, and to unite everybody under this umbrella of a eventual global government. I mean, this is why we have Trump talking about Canada being the 51st state all the time, because this is all part of the North American Union agenda, something I've been working on exposing for well over a decade. I've made multiple documentary films about it. It's all coming to fruition. It's just like what we saw with the European Union. The whole concept was hatched by the Bilderberg Group, where they got rid of their national currencies and adopted the euro. They got rid of their borders, per se, and they united into a European Union. Well, they're going for the same thing in Canada with the U.S., eventually Mexico. And it's starting to come to the forefront again now because of Trump talking about Canada being the 51st state. This is all part of relinquishing your national sovereignty, giving over to the New World Order system so they can eventually have a one world government. So that's
and they're going to need your biometrics. New biometric mandate signals new era of workplace surveillance by Dan Dix at Press for Truth. Now, PressForTruthCA for Canada, I guess. Yeah, PressForTruth.ca. Now, let's go ahead and go through this. The biometric mandates, when they had Starmer come out and say, neither will you be able to buy, sell, or work or whatever, get your national ID, and they hit it hard. It was, you're going to have to, because you're going to have to, and, we're not, the British government, we're going to make you. And I'm going, wow. I wonder, did you think the pushback on that was enough or too weak, or they're just going to do it anyway, even though they got millions in the street? I mean, because if it does it in UK, Canada's next, man. Here it comes.
Yeah, it really does look like the UK right now is acting as the blueprint for global biometric digital identification. And if they manage to pull this one off there, yeah, absolutely, it's going to be spreading to Canada. And like you said, there's a lot of people marching in the streets, but is that enough? I mean, we've already seen this spread to...
Yeah, they don't care.
yeah, they're not too concerned about that. In Vietnam, for example, they just instituted digital ID in order to do basic things. Go to the hospital, go to use your bank account. They just killed I think it was over 80 million bank accounts of people who have not yet submitted their biometric identification. So Vietnam is also starting to kind of be one of those ground zeros for the global digital ID system. So it's already happening there. And now they're working on it in the UK, and Canada has often followed suit of what the UK does with a lot of different bills stripping our rights when it comes to free speech. But in terms of the digital ID, we're now seeing the small incremental moves happen in Canada as well. Like, for instance, we just had some council members suggesting that digital ID should be required at airports for domestic travel, just to be able to fly around within Canada. As it is now, you don't even need to present a passport. You just have to have, a photo ID, like a driver's license. But they want to now implement this new digital ID system for literally flying around within
They're
Canada.
doing that in the U.S., and they're saying you go to the TSA, the Secretary of Homeland Security, Nome, whatever her name, she's going, hey, you have to, because you have to. When I fly, I go, no, I'm good. you know. So the driver's like, well, you have to. You're going to have. You're going to have to. I go, do I now? No. Well, then I ain't doing it, you know. And then they say, step in front of the camera. They got like a little tablet there. Now, no, look at it. Nah, I'm good. I opt out. You can feel me up. You can do whatever. I'm not doing it. Because you got to press. You got to see exactly. They're lying to you. You know, just the fact that they're lying to you. They're lying to you. This is not a good foundation for government trust, that they lie you into this stuff. You're going to have to, they want to, it's a compliance test. It's like, get your shot, you know, stare into this world orb, kind of social engineer and economically engineer you into a new world, whatever. This is happening piecemeal. Is there a switch flip? Is there something, and now, like they did with Starmer, is that been announced in Canada? They're going, you're going to have to, I mean, they're already saying it in the U.S. To travel, you have to, you don't until you do, you know. So what is it, the mindset in Canada? Are they emphasizing this digital ID to people you got to get, and what is it you got to get?
They are, but most people don't know, as you said, don't realize, don't actually have to. Like, ever since, you know, the TSA was starting to, you know, physically scan your body to try to find terrorists, and I don't believe they've ever found one to this day, most people who go to the airport don't realize that you don't have to do that. I have opted out every single time. I've never, ever gone through those things. And I often see the reaction on people, you know, in line in front of me or behind me when it's my turn, and they say, step on over here. And I say, nope, not doing that. I'm not going through that machine. And people are like, you can do that? And all it really, you know, amounts to is that they make you stand over here, they pat you down a little bit, and then they let you go on your way. And it's like, yeah, you absolutely don't have to. But
well, sometimes a lot of it. I've had one guy in Philadelphia, big guy, I'm going to go until I feel resistance. And man, he pulled my heels off the ground. I was like, holy crap. But, you know, do you want a private room? No! You know, I did some edible before I got here. I'm on my date, man. I want everybody to see. You know, so I have some fun with it. But it's really, I tell you what really happened. It was during COVID, when it first started, or I don't know, it's been like, you know, years ago. And when they started doing this pat-down stuff and everything, there was a young couple that were in their mid-20s, had two little kids, like 3 and 5. And they were helping you stand here, you do this, let them wand, kind of put your stuff in. They were training them to be slaves. That was the psyop. It's conditioning an entire generation. In 20 years, boom, you're done. They don't even remember. I'm so freaking old. You know, I'm 64, graduated high school 79, born 61. So I remember all of the progression towards, you know, the Cuban hijackers, so you have to have metal detectors. Then you got, you know, you could go to the gate, though. You could see people off. You know, nope, then that stops. Then you got to get an anal probe. Then you got. And now they're talking about being able to read brain waves. Yeah, malintent. We got, you know, probable cause because his brain waves were, you know, I don't know. Wow. This is wow. Very wow. And Dan Dix, PressForTruthCA, has been covering this every step of the way for this. And this is when you were very adamant about going to the Bilderberg conferences and outing these guys. And doing that, what you discover, and what I discovered, is intent. What they're doing, really, you know, whatever they can get away with is what they're going to do because you let them. And they'll tell you what they're going to do. And we're going to do it because you're letting us do it. We told you. And it's your fault for letting us rule you because we think we can rule you because you're letting us. So this is, you know, I'm glad to see that you put up here, you have what? It's happening. Digital ideas coming to Canada while the border dissolves. Here's how to resist. Ooh, a little bit of solution. How do we resist, Dan? What's up?
Well, I mean, there's a lot of things you can do. Number one, just refuse at every stage of the game when it comes to submitting your biometrics. You know, don't go along with it. Don't scan the eyes. Don't scan your face. Don't scan your fingerprints. But I think one of the biggest things that people can and should be doing right now is to, and this is maybe a tall order for a lot of people, but it's going to be beneficial no matter what, is to actually get rid of your smartphones. There is no current law that you have to have a smartphone. And at this stage of the game, if you really need to stay connected, you can get a dumb phone, as we call them, which is something that is not connected to the internet. You can't download apps on it. It's simply just, there's no Wi-Fi, there's no GPS tracking. It can only just receive phone calls and text messages by being pinged off of cell phone towers. And I think as it stands today, that's one of the best ways, is to just say, look, this is I got this old Nokia flip phone or whatever you want to go with, that only receives phone calls and texts. There is no capability for me to do this. And like I said, at this stage in the game, there's no law that you have to have a smartphone. And besides, these things are harder to stop picking up than crack cocaine. I mean, you might as well kind of wean yourself off of these things anyways, because of literally the phones themselves are reading our brain waves. So getting rid of them is a good idea on multiple fronts.
Rob Braxman is a big IT guy on privacy and so on that he's going to be on, let's see, Donna said next Friday on October 30th on Halloween. And I got a Brax X phone, a couple of years ago for him, kind of your bug out bag communication, not on the internet kind of thing. During that time, since I got it, I set it all up and put it over there. If I want to go semi-dark, whatever the hell that means, that I have something that will function. But the thing is that Rob's going, man, and they did this, and they hacked this, and he goes, now he's screaming everything Linux. The show computer I have here is Linux. Just because all the updates screw up everything all the time. I screw Windows. Micro sucks. I ain't kiss my butt. But he's going, there's no out now. You get a Windows 11, you're done. You got this Copilot anal probe of every time you turn it on. Well, you go to Linux, and then even them are now starting, you got to have an update to do, an update. But like you have other apps like, Zoom we use, or this. We're starting to use Jitsi a little bit more. But the thing is it has to be open source. It has to be off their grid. And what we've done here on occupytheland.org, we put in a mesh network. Your fellow Canadian John Sneisen is really pimping OuterNet, which is a mesh network. And he came out here in March, and we put up a relay on a mountain over here. It's like 15 miles away. When we tested it at 13 miles, we were getting 200 down and 100 up, covering 400 square miles, so they could suck it. But that's why we're working with Aaron Day on Xano. We're creating an entire alternative ecosystem and communication system, and just because we can, to demonstrate that we can. Then I can put it into my Starlink, whatever. But the point is it's going to be commerce, communication. The Agora is the only thing that compete with this. Because those, and why are we doing it? For convenience. You're going to have to give up your convenience a little bit to not be conveniently put on the railroad car. So this, and what is the threat? Who is under threat? What philosophy? What individuals? What are they trying to eliminate in dissent? Are they targeting people? Because they sure as hell don't care about Antifa. I mean, so I'm just wondering, what's the real target here?
Well, the real target is you and me. It's certainly anybody who goes against the status quo, but it's everybody, really. This is a global phenomenon. This is happening. It's coming. And like you said, we have to use the resources to our advantage now that we currently have before that's not a thing anymore. You mentioned like a lot of this, how I cover a lot of Bilderberg protests. Well, I'm going to have some decisions to make coming up soon. I mean, just trying to travel into Europe these days. They are going to be requiring this biometric digital identification if you want to travel there. And if it turns out that Bilderberg is in one of these countries in Europe that's going to require that I scan my iris or fingerprints or something like that in order to get in there to cover it, well, I'm going to have to make a decision. But ultimately, things I think are potentially going to get worse before they get better. because this is a global agenda. They're going for a one world eventual government. And, you can even look to Bible prophecy where it says eventually there will be a time when all small, poor, rich, and great, free, slave, everybody will have to have the mark on their right hand or forehead in order to engage in commerce. So we're talking about an agenda here that literally goes back thousands of years that is going to be coming to fruition. I don't want to sound like
always the goal of the crown, the whatever, to know everybody, that's everything, and prophecy of, a newborn's going to come take over your kingdom, so kill all the children. I mean, this is what happens. It really makes you think that there might have been more advanced civilizations before it took a reset, 12,000 years ago or whatever, because this stuff just keeps happening. It's like that's why they call it revolution. It just keeps coming around. And humanity always busts through and keeps on keeping on because, at a certain point, they fight back. And that was kind of what the hope is not lost, kind of thing. That's, a spiritual component. It's a battle between good and evil. That's what it comes down to. There are those who just want to be left alone, and those who won't leave them alone. But the this battle now, a lot of the AI, a lot of the stuff that's going on, it's a double-edged sword. Put it in the hands of activists, you get some really cool memes that are now animated, It's always the battle, but they keep ratcheting more and more and more power and isolation until there's a revolution. And it's going to be a food thing. It always is. It's going to come down to economics. The shelves are going to be bare. It's going to be, might as well be bare. You can't afford to get them. So then they got to feed you. We'll give you food stamps and Section 8 housing to just sit here and shut up. And you want to get paid that $7,000, go protest for Israel or something. So, I mean, it's just so, the incentives are so messed up. What is the overall solution? And of course, it's the man and woman in the mirror. I mean, I understand that. But what's the realization that we're going to cut? Does it have to be, I'm hungry? I mean, where do you think the switch is going to get flipped for the people?
Well, we're still in a stage of the game here where awareness is absolutely key. We have to continue to get people to realize that they operate through order out of chaos. And really, we're just one or two more false flags away from them being able to implement this system. Right. But if we have enough people who understand how this kind of problem, reaction, solution, as many people have called it, system works, then perhaps we can recognize the next false flag for what it truly is. Because that's the way, that's their modus operandi. It's the phoenix bird rising from the ashes. It's, cause enough pain and suffering that the only solution is that we must unite. We must come together in the face of this great evil, which was created by them, in order to, get through this. But if we have enough people who recognize this pattern that they've been on, maybe it can be exposed enough that people are just going to say, no, I'm not going along with this. You guys are the ones who started it, and we're not going to allow you to have the solution for it. So honestly,
it may be why they're always going after Christians in particular, because that is, Revelation warned us of this. And then you get in, the Antichrist this, and this is how, and it's going to be seen as a savior, and blah, blah, blah. Then Peter Thiel of Palantir, which is like scraping up everything around the world. I mean, he's in Europe now too. So I'm going, okay, for him to start coming out and talking about the Antichrist, it was something like this. Opposition to AI will bring on the Antichrist, so give me all the power to scrape your stuff. So weird crap like that. What the hell is that about? And he going on about, I'm a Christian libertarian. The hell you are. You're not either of those. So I'm just, this idea that he's coming up with, that the Antichrist, he did a series on it. Did you watch any of that? You got a comment?
Did you see my recent confrontation face-to-face with Peter Thiel? One-on-one?
No.
Oh, man.
Explain that.
Whew, what a wild moment that was. I was covering the most recent Bilderberg conference in Sweden, and I'm doing my thing as I always do, and I just had the intuition and the sense to stand in a particular area where everyone else, who was there covering the event were somewhere else, thinking this is where I should be. But I was like, I think I need to be over here. And a remarkable thing happened. I'm standing there, and I hear behind me someone walk up in plain clothes, comes up to a police officer and says, "Hey, my client is about to walk in, but he doesn't have his lanyard with him. Is that going to be a problem?" Listening, overhearing this, and the cop says, "Well, who's your client?" And the guy says, "Peter Thiel." And I obviously perked up, and they looked at the list. They said, yes, yeah, okay, no, shouldn't be a problem. So this guy starts heading away. So I followed him. I tracked him all the way down this street, all the way around the corner of a building, and all of a sudden, coming out of a taxi cab, poof, there's Peter Thiel. And it's just me and Peter Thiel and his two bodyguards. So it happened so quickly that...
Did he recognize you? You know who you were?
I don't know, but he certainly has a very angry look on his face when I bring up his Jeffrey Epstein case, and I bring up the fact that he's using Palantir to potentially surveil the American people. Like when these types of words came out, I said, you're setting up a Big Brother Orwellian nightmare system that is spying on people. Also, what were you doing meeting with Jeffrey Epstein? And he picked up the pace and he started walking, and his bodyguards just tried to keep me away, but I think they realized I'm not a physical threat. So I had a good minute or so to confront Peter Thiel to his face as he approached the entrance of the Bilderberg conference. And what a wild experience and video that is.
Any response from him?
He was stone cold, militant, just focused on the mission. And having said that, at the time, literally like within hours of me doing that, there was, bombing with Israel and Iran going on, and his Palantir system is being used for some of this stuff. So he obviously had bigger issues on his mind than little old me, confronting him about, Palantir and Jeffrey Epstein. Now, having said that, I wish at the time that I thought about some of the Antichrist stuff to ask him about. But, when these things happen, a lot of people, when they watch the confrontation, why didn't you say this? Why didn't you say that?
Yeah.
It's like,
yeah, you
did
were
not
there,
realize
man.
that I didn't know I was going to be talking to Peter Thiel until 30 seconds before I talked to him. Like, come on, give me a break. But it was quite the confrontation. You can find that. Just search Peter Thiel on my website, or I messed up a little bit when I was pretty excited about the clip, and when I uploaded it to Twitter, now called X, I incorrectly spelt his last name, and I also didn't include a watermark on my video. So a lot of people took the video. Some people literally called it themselves. They said, "I confronted Peter Thiel today," and then they cut out the part where you can see me. And those went mega viral, millions and millions of views each. And my video ended up just getting a couple 100,000 views or whatever, but it went mega viral. If you get a chance to, there it is. Peter Thiel confronted on Palantir and Jeffrey Epstein in the Big Brother surveillance system. Just wild face-to-face confrontation. What an opportunity that presented itself because I placed myself in the right position at the right time.
You could never do. You did it wrong. You could never be journalist enough, or atheist enough, or Christian enough, or libertarian enough. You're doing it wrong, but you're doing it. So yay, power to Dan. Okay, now what do you think of this Antichrist focus that he's doing? What is that about? Do you have an opinion?
I mean, like, the 4-part lecture series that he just gave was off the record, so it kind of remains to be seen exactly what was said there. But when you look at some of the things that he's been saying in other interviews, it certainly seems like he has a sense of what's coming and is trying to divert people's attention to not necessarily be against AI. I think it's funny that he would suggest that the Antichrist could be somebody like Greta Thunberg, which is
somebody like Peter Thiel. That's what it's like.
Exactly. So it's pretty wild that he would even talk about it in the first place. But like you said, he considers himself to be a Christian, even though he's worth like many, many, many billions. Not that there's anything wrong with that. There's absolutely not. But, there is a certain responsibility for Christians to, use their power and their wealth in a responsible way that's going to help the poor. He's also gay. I wish I said to him, for a man who's worth, multiple billions of dollars, you sure as heck don't look happy. You don't look like you have a whole lot of inner peace there, my friend.
Right.
Because if you look at the footage, the man looks like angry and militant and tired and just disheveled and beat down. He doesn't look like he has any kind of a spark of joy in the eyes. I did not see any joy in this man's eyes. I feel like he looks like a tormented soul, to be honest. So it's hard to, ultimately God has the final say in judgment about whether or not this man is born again and going to be accepted into God's.
You mentioned him being gay. I wanted to bring this up because it was something that was really interesting to me. That tells you the kind of person that he is. When I don't remember what was it. It was some rag, that outed him as being gay. Gawker magazine, something, I can't remember. But he's like, okay, all right. So he just kind of took it, went off to the sideline. You didn't hear from him about it, but he didn't forget. And when Hulk Hogan had a lawsuit against them, he funded that. A lot of people didn't know that for a long time. This was how he was going to bankrupt that publication. This is how he was going to, I'm going to sue him. Ooh, got this Hulk Hogan thing going on. And he won. Well, Hulk won. And so this was how strategic he is. This is something he'll wait. He doesn't forget. He's going to do that elephant thing. I will not forget. I'll get some. So he's the kind of guy that I would give, a lot of time to do what he ultimately wants to do. And he has the money, resources, contacts, freaking Trump, to do it. And he's got all the time in the world, in his mind to get what he wants. When I think it was Gawker, whatever, when the publication was sued out of existence by him using the Hulk Hogan thing, that told me something. Man, you piss him off, you get on his list, you're not going to get off that list until he's checked that box. So he's got boxes to check. What are the boxes? Did he
turn the other cheek? Did he, love his enemies? The Bible says, when you judge, you do it righteously. You judge a man by their fruits. What kind of fruit are they producing? Because a good tree doesn't produce bad fruit. A bad tree doesn't produce good fruit, and a good tree doesn't produce bad fruit. You judge a man by his fruits. And when we see that he's being a hypocrite in terms of the ideals that Jesus Christ taught, like to literally love your enemy and to literally turn the other cheek and sort of these sorts of things. That doesn't necessarily mean you're supposed to be a
too passive,
passive or whatever. There's something to be said about self-defense, obviously. But this was seeking revenge. This had nothing to do with self-defense. This was a revengeful act that he did against Gawker. And so, yeah, man, that
which eats at your soul. It'll make you the Antichrist. This is. Right. I wanted to get also on this story that you just recently put up. I watched this morning on Roger Ver. Now, what happened? Roger and I did a show when he first released Hijacking Bitcoin, And it was like 2 weeks later, they arrest him in Spain. And, he was going on about when we did the interview, he had not been a U.S. citizen for more than 10 years, which was, kind of the cutoff for IRS. So you got to kind of, what they didn't care, So they arrest him and do it. Now, we've been in contact. We're friendly. And recently, when this came out that he had a settlement for $48 million, woo, sounds like a show. Oh, we're going to need to do us a show. Let's do a show. Let's get a show. So I was jealous you had some. I'm going, what the hell? He's talking to Dan. What the crap? Well, what happened was he goes, 3 years till the end of Trump's administration. There's something in there that he can't talk about it. There's some deal that was made. There's some, you're kind of off, and we're still in this $48 million you paid, kind of be a deal, and the judge, I don't know if he's actually accepted and it's finished, but it's negotiated. And him, when you're hanging on by your fingernails, you don't want to be waving your arms around, So this is where he's at on that. It's not over. And it was certainly an extortion fee of, how much I got to pay to be free of this and travel to whatever. But you're never really free. Certainly when you're not in opposition to GoldmanSucks.gov coin, which is what Bitcoin is becoming, and all this stable coin stuff that's tied to the dollar. What benefit is that? So this is, they definitely don't want Roger Ver out there. And, singing praises of peer-to-peer and so on. So we're not going to hear a lot from him, I don't think, until, it's too late. Yeah, I mean, what do you know about it?
Yeah, I mean, it's crazy what happened to him, and the fact that they're extorting him in this way. And like you said, I think it was 2014 when he became a citizen of St. Kitts, and we're talking a decade later, the DOJ drops the hammer on this guy and just kind of saying, hey, just pay up the $48 million and this all goes away. Well, not necessarily. I mean, like you said,
not necessarily.
a judge still has to green light this whole situation, and it's not necessarily going to be over because he's into voluntarism. This is something that that they don't want people pushing. He's into, decentralization, spreading far and wide. I mean, these are concepts that directly oppose what the government's trying to push with their central bank digital currencies. You know what I mean? They want everything centralized. So literally everything that this guy has been preaching over the years, be an evangelist for decentralization, is everything that goes against the status quo in terms of what the government wants to do. So yeah, they're trying to shut him down. They're trying to make an example of pioneers who are brave enough to speak out and to put themselves on the line to explain to people that decentralization is key moving forward. So yeah, this thing isn't over. I do see this as an extortion play and just an attempt to set an example. But yeah, pretty wild stuff. I had no idea way back in 2014 that the guy was sitting on 130,000 BTC when I met him on a beach in Acapulco. It was like, holy cow, that's pretty remarkable. But he took a bet on Bitcoin and he won. And for that, he's being completely ostracized. I mean, the Spanish police on U.S. extradition soil had him arrested, and they fought tooth and nail, and he managed to dodge prison time essentially, but they're looking for a 100-year prison sentence if he doesn't pay up. So how is that not extortion? It's absolutely
how is it not? One of the things that we've been he's a big fan of, and working with Aaron Day and the developers at Xano, is our Occupy the Land effort is creating the mesh network that we have and using Xano as a decentralized mechanism for agorist markets, for communication, so on. This was presented to us as the solution for a lot of the things that we want to do. So that's what we're doing. We're creating this. Well, why do you? Because, man, you have no idea what's coming. It is going to be, you're going to be off the grid or you're going to be on it, one or the other. And you have, certainly people of faith, but just as people of You need to not freaking offer up your soul to these people. You know, my sister went and did 23andMe or some DNA thing or whatever. She goes, oh, I go, man, that's part of me too. You did that, man. I'm going to go, Ernie has a little bit too much William Wallace in him. He therefore must get slaughter-botted. I mean, you know, don't be giving these guys data. So this is where we're going, and I want to promote your efforts. I gave Dan all the banner sizes and everything, and I need him to commit on air right now to not forget and send us a banner ad so we can promote the crap out of what you're doing. This is the information that of course we put up, you know, your stories and your videos and all the time, but I need people to know that they need to go there and see this coming because it happens other places first. They do retina scans, Afghanistan. They do the world, you know, coin, whatever the hell that, you know, Sam Altman's doing, and the globe of you look into, and then you get access to money. I go like, wow, that's not going away. That's a big thing. You know, a lot of people have you tell people what that is. And then you have all of this stuff that usually starts in the United Kingdom. And then it goes to Canada, Australia, New Zealand. Then it comes America. And you're like the tin can that we need to be paying attention to know what's coming here. The world coin thing, talk about that. Explain that to people.
I mean, yeah, this is another, you know, Bilderberg attendee who's come up with this concept of WorldCoin, where they've got this literal orb that scans your eyeball in order to get your biometric identification as a way of, you know, securing your digital assets. But really, it's just normalizing everybody into accepting, you know, giving over your biometrics for an eventual CBDC, a centralized bank digital currency, eventually. You know, because if you're going to have a one world government, a new world order, you need a one world cash system, and it's obviously going to be digital. And so this guy seems to be paving the way for that to happen. And what's remarkable to me is how many people signed up for this thing. Like they were in line. Like
they gave him $1 in WorldCoin or something. And opened up a account, get a wallet. You know, you'd be part of the club. There's a club and you can be in it.
You know, it's funny. My mom called me this morning. She's unfortunately in the hospital doing some blood work right now, and she said, I had to call you because I just heard over the PA system, they said, come get your flu shot and we'll enter you into a draw, and we'll also give you a free chocolate bar. It was like,
hey man, they almost had me at Krispy Kremes. They go, you get a free Krispy Kreme shot. Oh, I'll think about it. Maybe not.
Yeah,
you know,
unreal what they're trying to do. But you want to talk about something absolutely wild happening in Canada, which is going to set a precedent moving forward for the rest of the world. You got to look at the MAID program that they're doing, that was legalized in 2016. MAID, M-A-I-D. It stands for Medical Assistance in Dying. The Canadian government right now, since 2016, has literally killed approximately 90,000 people who have taken them up on the offer for assisted suicide. Let's call it what it really is. It's assisted suicide. But this is no longer just happening for people who are, you know, terminally ill. It has morphed into people who are just, they have the SADs. They're you know, not able to scrape by. They're poor. They're depressed. They are just feeling like, you know, they don't want to continue the fight. In fact, the doctors around here are being incentivized to push the medical assistance in dying program. They're pushing it on people. You got people going into the hospital for simple little things, and they're being suggested, well, have you considered MAID? Have you considered maybe, you know, just kind of giving up? And it's absolutely.
We can help you with that.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a machine that is bringing in people who are depressed and sad and vulnerable, and is just pumping out body bags.
Or vaccine damaged. They
Yes.
go, you know, they go, well, I got this shot and this happened. Well, we could always just kill you, you know.
Absolutely.
You'll step in, go down the hall line right here. We got you, got you covered. And when you had that 90,000 number, Donna, my wife, she goes, did you know that really hit her? That shocked her. She went, what the crap is that? So are they proud of that number? Is that something? Oh, we're so sad. 90,000 people we had to allow our help, and we were obligated. Kind of, woohoo! 90,000. You too can be part of that. We can hit 6 digits. Be the 100,000s. We'll put you on a poster. I mean, what is the motivate? Are they compensated like physicians were for doing the shot? Do you get a boat after you kill your 100th patient or something? I mean, what is the incentive for this?
Man, it's just a death cult that is literally going after the vulnerable, and those numbers were extrapolated from their previous reportings. Like, I believe in 2024, the numbers were 60,000, but that's up like 8% from 2023 or something like that. So you can extrapolate and kind of forward think about where they're going to be when the numbers come out for 2025, which is where, the 90,000 number comes from. And it could be higher. I mean, honestly, like at the end of the year and when the fourth quarter is finished, when they finally do release the numbers for 2025, I was projecting 90,000, but I think it may actually be higher based on just the trajectory of how this thing is going. I think it's something they're very proud of. They've literally shut down certain hospices who have refused to go along with MAID, and then when those people in those hospices speak out about this, they send death cult activists after them to just try to silence their voice. So it's not only that they're proud of it.
But this here hypodermic.
They want to silence everybody who speaks out about it, and they want to push it as if it's a noble cause, when really like we have to call it for what it is. It's assisted suicide. It's helping people kill themselves, but beyond helping, it's pushing it on people. People who didn't even have it as an idea are being suggested that they do it. So absolutely shocking that this is happening. And again, I hope this isn't like the precedents that are being set for the rest of the world. I know they have euthanasia that goes on in some countries in Europe. They even have a death pod that some guy designed where you can get into this thing and you can press
All right, what's the
button
movie
yourself.
this reminds you of? Does this remind you of a movie? Yeah, I don't know if you're old enough. You got a little gray. It was Omega Man, I think it was. No. Soylent Green. Charlton Heston played in both. But Soylent Green, have you ever seen that movie?
I haven't.
It's people. What in the future they had this kind of thing, assisted suicide. What the big thing is that they had Soylent, and you see this Soylent Green, are selling it on freaking internet now as some supplement or whatever. Oh my God. Next it'll be Soma. So what happened was Soylent Green, they have Soylent Red, Soylent Blue. It was a protein wafer. It was just so the poor didn't starve kind of thing. Well, they were scooping up, literally with loaders and protests, and scooping up people. Soylent Green, it's people! Okay? So they were taking the people and making protein wafers out of it or something. Well, Charlton Heston did it, and the whole thing, Soylent Green, was about a dystopian future to where overpopulation destroyed the earth. They're killing people for a jar of strawberry preserves, kind of crap. And what happened was one old guy was like, "Look, I'm done." And he goes into this room pod, and they had videos surround of green fields and horses going and that's how he's going out, and it was so nice. Then you get Logan's Run. Carousel, at 30 years old, you get off. This has been a dystopian thing for a long time, and they're doing it for real. It's like all these movies, all of this stuff since certainly the 70s, has been predictive programming to get it, like it's a possibility in our head, and then they throw this at us, and you get, Justin has up here, since it was made legal in 16, 60,000 as of 23, 60,000, and now it's only going to shoot up. Has there been any study of the people, how willing were? Because when they start getting down to teenagers, when you get down to, I just feel depressed, I can't get off of my iPhone, I'm locked into the tragedy porn of Antifa, whatever the hell, and I just need to go, it's all bad, and I'm going to do my part and kill myself for my carbon footprint, or whatever the hell they're conning them into. This seems like a campaign, and I'm wondering who benefits. Why would the government do? It's not about personal rights of you want to off yourself, peace out, I don't care. It's called a slug to the brain, but this is but it's okay if I get assisted. I can go out quietly. I can do, so I'm going, why would they do that? What's the incentive? What's the bonus? What is the benefit to the state? Are they just trying to lower their health? I need something. It's not because they love us or our freedoms or want us to exercise our autonomy over our body or life, or they definitely aren't going to use that rhetoric. So what is the reason? Why are they so benevolently killing us? What is their incentive?
Well, I think it's multifaceted. I think there's a lot of things going on here, but one thing that I recently discovered, unfortunately I didn't include it in that video, but it's now, I've realized there's definitely something to this, is that we're now dealing with a situation with organ harvesting, believe it or not. And this is like a massive, massive business. I think they've realized that in certain Asian countries like the Falun Gong are very, very healthy, very, very healthy spiritual people. So they've been targeted for their organs, and a lot of them have been forcefully killed in order to extract their organs. Well, as I understand it now, in Canada, that's exactly what's happening with the bodies of some of these people who have been offered made. And in fact, I think they're introducing legislation that would suggest that your body is going to have some of your organs taken unless you opt out of that program. So there's something that's switching right now. Yeah, they want to just kind of make it the standard practice unless you go through the process of opting out and saying, no, I want to be cremated or whatever. I want you to don't touch my body. But if you don't even opt out, I think the default soon may be organ harvesting. So there's a lot of people who have been pointing that out in regards to MAID. But if you go to my website and use the search feature and you just, type in MAID, you're going to find dozens and dozens of videos and interviews I've done with people. You'll find that some of it is people who are literally just poor. They're financially struggling to be able to keep up with their medical needs, and so they're being offered MAID, and some of them are taking them up on the offer. Some people are just sick of the long waiting line. They're waiting, because
I'm in pain. Just off me. Yeah.
Exactly.
Canada leads the world in organ donations from euthanasia. Yeah. Yay. Is that like a feather in their cap or something? I mean, wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
And they need Canada because you got a wider diversity of ethnicities instead of just China. You got a bunch of Asians. Well, that might not, fill the bill for the kidney, some elite needs. We need to open up Canada. We need some Canadian organs.
Yeah, and this apparently is a very, very big business. Billions and billions of dollars are being made here, and it's a lot of this happening on the black market. How does this even work? Like, there's a lot to be said about what's going on here. But the bottom line is, people are being systematically murdered, like they're being killed on purpose at the hands of the Canadian government. And, if that doesn't outrage people in terms of what's happening in this country since 2016, I don't know what will. I mean, it's just absolutely insane that this is what Canadians are dealing with right now. So, yeah.
Okay, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Yeah. Well, I was just going to say I've been exposing this one since 2016. I've got really good interviews, like with this lady. Her name is Angelina Ireland. She's been really kind of pushing the movement against MAID. She's the one who raised millions and millions of dollars to build her own hospice facility, and the government threatened to take it away from her if she wouldn't engage in MAID, and she refused to, and then they took it away. They took away her property because she refused to kill her own patients, when literally there's a hospital across the street that will do it. She even said that if these people really want to do that or whatever, they can go across the street.
Wheel you over there.
Yeah, but we're not going to be doing that here. So there's another story there you got on the screen, the ostrich situation happening. That's another crazy situation going on in Canada. But anyways, yeah, if you use the search feature,
you can't just get us all worked up. Tell us about the ostrich thing. What's up?
All right. Well, there's a lot going on with this one. But long story short, there's an ostrich farm in British Columbia that has over somewhere around 400 ostriches, where last year in December, allegedly some of them got sick with avian influenza.
Bird flu. Okay.
Right. And so the Canadian Food Inspection Agency, the CFIA, caught wind of this. They contacted the farm. They said, hey, can we come down, do a couple of tests? And this is where the farm messed up. They said, sure, yeah, come on in, do some tests. That was their biggest mistake. So the CFIA showed up on their property and conducted 2 tests on 2 dead carcasses, birds, and PCR tests, mind you, which we all know are highly
15 gazillion cycles and you find everything you want, yeah.
You can find anything you want when you amp up the cycles to that degree. So they found avian influenza and are now going to cull the rest of the herd. That was, 11 months ago? Something like that. And if you look, the birds are obviously healthy. Like, some of them died, yes, but and who knows what they died from, but some of them died. And but the rest of the herd is perfectly fine. They're perfectly healthy. So they're going to now go in and potentially kill these birds. As it stands today, the Canadian Food Inspection Agency and the RCMP have gained control of the farm. They are currently running the show until they get word from the Supreme Court of Canada to pull the trigger and kill the birds. So right now, there's a lot of protesters there. I went there. I interviewed the protesters. I interviewed the farm owners. I think I called the video Universal Farm, Ostrich Universal Inc. Exposed or something like that. I don't know, if you do a search on my site for Universal Ostrich Farms, you'll find it. But I put it together like almost like an hour and a half long. It plays like a documentary where I explain kind of the whole situation. And there's 2 sides to this argument too. There's a lot of people saying, viruses don't even exist, and avian influenza is a bunch of bogus nonsense in the first place, because it turns out these aren't food birds. They're not meant for human consumption. The actually transitioned from that a long time ago into these being research birds, where they teamed up with the Japanese scientist who's doing research into the antibodies that the ostrich eggs produce in order to stave off, certain viruses.
But then they'd be saving more lives. We can't have that.
Well, there is the argument that Big Pharma is obviously concerned with this research. But on the other hand of the argument, it pushes the government narrative that new COVID variants are things that you need to be afraid of. And so it's a real mess of a situation.
This is one thing. We had Joel Salatin on a month or 2 ago, and the thing that he said I'd never even thought of, I just didn't even think of it. He goes, how stupid is it to call and kill the birds that survived it? If they had bird influenza and they survived, those are the ones you want to breed.
They have immunity, apparently.
Yeah, they'd have immunity for it, and you're killing all them, you morons. And I'm like, good point.
Apparently, even your health secretary, Kennedy, chimed in on this. and he said, hey, Mark Carney, you Bilderberger WEF insider who somehow became prime minister. Why don't you, stop the call order and allow the research to continue? Obviously, Carney is mum on the situation, but you've even got billionaires in the U.S. who are offering to house the birds, saying, ship them on down here to Texas. We'll take care of them. Save them. Let's save them. So the big picture, the bottom line is, like, if they can kill 400 birds on this private farm, then they can come after anybody's farm. In fact, they've already called...
They're doing it in UK.
Yeah, millions of chickens have already been called. Even backyard chickens have been called under this avian influenza situation. And what's wild is it's the Canadian Food Inspection Agency that's dealing with this, when this has nothing to do with food. Right. So, it's quite the situation.
Has to do with control.
Yeah.
Let's go ahead and, before you go, I wanted to make sure that we got to talk about predictions, the future. And it comes from people like you that have been covering this for so long with they, them, those that won't leave us alone. And it's obvious there's a goal here. There's something else going on. And you're going, well, we were supposed to have governments to protect us against the sociopaths, against those with no compassion or empathy or love or whatever for their fellow man, that they're using violence to protect life, liberty, property, your pursuit of happiness, your happenstance, your conditions under which you sustain your life, And I'm going, this is not what the governments are doing. The whole rationale, and that's why this shows declare your independence for a government, is the protection of individual rights. Doesn't do that. It's time to alter or abolish. It's your right, your duty. Boom, sign me up. Well, the thing is that it's become so obvious that when you create this clipboard, this shiny badge of authority, backed up always by, an F-16 or something, you have the desire to control, to enslave, the tyrannical, authoritarian, always, like Larkin Rose does, the greatest superstition, okay? This worship of government. But if it's my team jersey, Trump or MAGA or, woke or whatever the hell, that's okay. There's still, everybody's wanting the same thing. A government to be governed by the way they want to be governed. Where is the promise of not being governed? I'm protected against somebody wanting to govern me. That was the point. I don't want to be governed. I don't mind having, a disinterested third party doing a court kind of thing. But then they get to finger their thumb on the justice scale. They go, oh, we're going to do it for us and take your land and give it to somebody else. So what is the solution, Dan? As you're going through all this, is there some reform, some vote harder, something? Skip to the end and give me the solution according to Dan Dix is what?
Well, definitely not looking to the government to solve all the problems created by the government. Right. That's for sure. We're not going to vote our way out of this. And I think you guys are lucky to have something like the Second Amendment that is, designed to, arm yourselves against this kind of governmental corruption. Whereas in Canada, the direct opposite is happening. They're coming for the guns like crazy. They're introducing new bills. They have buyback program where they're trying to call everything and anything an illegal firearm. And so we're going in the opposite direction. But certainly there's no matter of voting our way out of this. So I think while we still can, we have to decentralize. We have to step outside of the system. And for a lot of people, that may be easier said than done because it's going to amount to, I think a big key is getting out of, not have multiple credit cards and mortgages and lines of credits and all these sorts of things that allow them to have their bony fingers around your neck and they can squeeze anytime they want simply by raising interest rates. And as I said, that's easier said than done for a lot of people. Obviously, you have to live within your means. That's the important thing. And that, if that means that you have to live in a little tiny shack, but still own it outright, as opposed to, being in a nice big cushy place, but being signed over to the banks and the government. I mean, these are the kind of things that people have to think about moving forward, because as we said, this is marching towards a one world government, a one world cash system, a one world religion, a one world police system, a one world court, in order to, silence the people who have anything negative to say about this. So at this stage in the game, if you still have it within your means to get out of debt, get out of the system, don't engage with the banks, don't engage with the government, get within a local community where you have a kind of tight-knit group of friends and family who you can rely on, we still have that opportunity as it stands today. And like I said earlier in the show, I think things are going to get a lot worse before they get better. So as it stands today, you still have the opportunity to set up that kind of local community before this whole New World Order system.
You better get on it.
It's crunch time.
We're in occupy the land. I mean, that's what the only solution I could see. And plus, I promised Donna, she went on the Love Bus Liberty tour, and we did that for years and liquidated it and all that kind of stuff, that I'd build her a home in the desert. She wanted to be within an hour and a half of grandkid soccer games, and, here we are. I love it out here. And this, okay, I got to tell you this, Dan. You're not far enough out if your Orion constellation doesn't have a penis. When you look at the Orion belt, the 3 stars, when you're out far enough away from the city, you'll see like this star cluster or distant galaxies. Looks like it has a penis, kind of, hangs to the right a little bit. So I'm going, I've never seen that before. I look it up, Orion penis. Oh, hell yeah, it blows up all over the place. You're not far enough out of the city unless your Orion constellation has a penis. That's my criteria, okay? So this is so nice out here. Beautiful sunsets, mountain, whatever. But the biggest thing is what you're saying. We are building, but we live in our bus. The Love Bus Liberty Tour. It's all self-contained, has its own power, got our own solar. I don't have an electric bill. I don't have a water bill. I don't have. When I hear all these things, or my kids, my 4 kids and 12 grandkids here in Arizona, start going on about, my electric bill, it's going up here, and you start detailing it, they have surcharges and so on for paying for nuclear power plants and so on, which is fine, but this is stuff that's going to be for Amazon. This is for the data centers and the mining centers, and we need to have, like a triple the energy capacity that we got now for your surveillance, and you're going to pay for it. I'm just like, what the crap? You have to be in the mindset to stop delegating your authority and your control over your life and that of your children to somebody else, to Uncle Sam, to another politician, to some savior. Quit. Be more self-sufficient. Build your own home. Grow your own food. Source your own water. Educate your own kids. Communicate with your own community. Now, I'm not about intentional communities. I just don't think that, any collective, even with a libertarian label or a voluntarist, there's always that guy or gal or whatever. You have your land over, this is mine, that's yours, this is mine, mine, need to mine. Now, being a good neighbor, I just go and take my tractor and go help someone put in their septic. I help do the roads. Like a good neighbor, Ernie and Donna's there. But this is mine. That attitude was what made this country so wealthy so fast, which means that the middle class in America, all your pensions, 401ks, your IRAs, wherever they got incentivized for you to invest into their system, and it's ours now, and thanks for playing, and it's gone. Get out of paper. Now, crypto has got it. I'd say it's just goldmansucks.gov coin. It's going to be part of the surveillance, and there are other cryptos that we're paying attention to. But, I like the McDucket, man. I want a touchy-feely roll around in my silver gold kind of stuff. So what is your suggestion of how people, like you're saying, get a small place, be more self-sufficient, go, and Canada is a little bit harder than, other places. But, doing that, how? Why? What currency would you use? How dumb does your phone got to be? Give us a scenario of what hopefully you're looking forward to doing. What do you think?
Well, I think you pretty much nailed it. I couldn't say it better myself. You know, decentralizing in every single area of your life, getting out of debt, getting outside of the clutches of the banks, the government, owning your own private property, all these sorts of things is what's going to happen moving forward. Getting that dumb phone instead of a smartphone, refusing to engage in the biometric identification, just stepping outside of the system ultimately. And if you want me to paint a picture, like you said, you got to look at this like it's a pyramidal structure of control that they have set up here. And if enough people who represent, let's say, the bottom brick in the pyramid step outside of the system, well, what happens? The whole thing comes crumbling down if we manage to do that. So at this stage in the game, we have to lead by example. We have to show people that there is a way out if you continue to decentralize your life in all these various areas. Then hopefully enough people will wake up to the tyranny and will start doing the exact same thing before it's too late. But we still have that ability to do this now. And as we said, it's crunch time, folks. So if you're sitting on the fence, man, oh man, it's time to jump on the side of freedom and liberty moving forward.
You know, energy was a big thing for me. You know, homie's going to have his entertainment, big screen, whatever, I'm going to have electrons. And when we first started, before the Love Bus Liberty Tour, right when we started that beginning of 2020, what happened was it was like $80,000 for me to get the power that I wanted, and now it's like $17,000. So it has just plummeted the cost of solar panels, the inverter systems, the plug-and-play, off-grid kind of do it, whatever. All right, so $10,000, you could be off. Well, $10,000 might as well be $1 billion for a lot of people. But if you're a young 20-something-year-old couple and you go to mom and grandpa and, and you say, hey, man, I get an acre or two, I'll move out of the basement. Be gone with you, there you can do it. So the technology is out there. It is available. It is just the will to do it, to get off of the computer, to stop being so blue-faced. You go around, you can't do anything in life without somebody blue-faced with their phone in their face constantly. And that is also a tactic I think that they're using. They're pulling you in with dopamine hits. Our friend Jay Noon does presentations on this quite a bit. And he goes to Acapulco and he really emphasizes how get the kids dopamine hits from collecting eggs or, gardening or whatever. You get that reward. And I'll be speaking at this February's Acapulco. You and I have gone, before and so on. I've emceed a couple of times. But they really want me to do the Occupy the Land thing. And it's going to be, we're far enough along on this. Who'll build the roads? Right here. Me and my tractor was building 4 miles of road just to get the bus back here. And I needed that because I didn't want to be on a county maintained. They turn and they go, hey, what's Ernie over there doing? You get a permit for that? I hear tell you're like, dude, you're building something. Did you get a permission slip from the Crown? So this is the battle that I'm willing to fight. This is the hill that I'm willing to die on, literally, because this is for my grandchildren. The Freedom's Phoenix, from the ashes of Lady Liberty's torch, this rebirth, I've always imagined it was going to be my grandchildren. But Grandpa and our kids had to be understand what was going on and why and prepare for it. So they're not, and I, just 2 weeks ago on a family chat, I went and I go, get out of paper. And I know a lot of them are filthy stinking with, whatever paper assets of their retirement, their companies of whatever. My oldest kid's now 40 and they're doing, on paper, they look great. Now, of course, they got precious metals and guns and ammo and prep and, they're, probably not as much as anybody should, but they're not totally oblivious to what's going on. So they're going to be okay. But I made the point in the family chat, which we're not supposed to talk politics or economics. Oh, Papa, stop. I'm like, okay, I'm just going to do a drive-by here. And I'm just saying, and I don't say anything anymore. Get out of paper. If it's on the stock market, this, that, they're coming for it. The paper, it's ours now. The great taking, being able to just seize stuff. You're doing it wrong. You're not killing yourself fast enough, something, and it's gone. If you don't have a hard, none of this ETF silver crap or Bitcoin crap, the ETF garbage, that's how they turned silver into paper to begin with. So I'm going, no. And I knew silver was manipulated more than anything. My 40-year-old daughter called me right when silver hit 50. I see it's her, and I pick up the phone, and I go, $50. I knew that's why she was calling, and I'm going, yep, Dad's not so crazy anymore, is he? So what do you think of crypto, precious metals? Are we done? Because it pulled back a little bit here last few days. And you think government's ever going to stop spending? They're going to ever something? They're doing the stable coin thing. Before you go, what do you think this stable coin on the dollar, I don't know what the hell that was about, but what's going to happen with the economy? How is this going to fuel whatever's coming?
Well, we know something's coming because of the fact that these central banks all over the world have been gobbling up gold like it's their number one goal and mission these days. And that's got to go to say something that they're preparing for something. They know too.
It's more than treasuries now.
Yeah. The dollar is heading for its demise, and obviously when it does, gold and silver are going to skyrocket. Now, is the precious metal space, manipulated? Probably. Yeah. I mean, just yesterday, the gold and silver space saw its largest one-day dip in years. I think silver saw like an 6 to 8% dip in one day, the most that it's seen since 2021, and gold took a dip of 6%, more than it has ever done in a one-day move since 2013. So, but honestly, I think that presents a good buying opportunity. As they say, buy the dips.
Yep.
And getting out of paper is absolutely crucial, and stacking those precious tangible metals is going to be a key move moving forward. So I think that's very important. I'm glad you brought that up as something to kind of close with, is that if you're not currently at least working towards, at the very least, getting access to some precious metals, then you've already fallen behind. You have to look at what the central banks are doing. They're gobbling it up like we've never seen. And again, that should go to show you something. They know something's coming, and it looks like troubling times are coming. But historically, silver and gold have always proven to be a store of value in times of trouble, and we know these times are coming. So again, if you're not stacking right now, you need to either be doing it or figuring out how you can do it and getting that paper, getting out of the banks. Again, this is all part of stepping outside of their system. But an excellent way to do that is to start stacking that gold and silver, man. I've been saying that on my show for, almost 2 decades now. And had people
but you keep saying it's going to shoot up and go to 30, 40, 50. You keep saying, and then it happened, okay?
Yeah.
But here we have on the front page, India's largest metals refinery ran out of silver for the first time in history. Sold out in India.
Yep.
Panic in London.
London, too. There's a huge squeeze happening. It's getting harder and harder to find right now. It's harder to source. So, and again, all the more reason why you should be working on getting your hands on some yourself. So.
Well, it's when is it? I would say anytime it was under $20, buy whatever extra 20 under 20. Then it gets up to like 30. I go, anything under 30, you just buy. Then now it's anything under 40, you just buy. Anything under, buy it. And then it gets to where now and then in the cryptos, I'm looking at, I thought I saw you say, a lot of people gave me crap, but when it was down like 3 to 6 cents, I bought a bunch of Dogecoin because I was going, I'm seeing this is going to have an application in the future, people's money, Elon Mars money, whatever the hell, but it was just, anytime he would open his mouth, the SEC would go out, you're not allowed to. And I'm going, okay, they're definitely wanting to manipulate this. And then there's going to be different use cases that they have for it. So Xano, I'm a fan of, and Dogecoin just cause screw them. You know, just, you can't, that's a meme coin. You got to go, yeah. Well, I bought a bunch of it that, you know, like probably average 5-6 cents. Well, what happens?
Anything that's decentralized, anything that challenges their fiat monopoly is something you gotta, you know, potentially support. And if people are probably looking at this saying, can't afford to do that. Well, there's something to be said about dollar cost averaging. You know, if you could just put in $20 a week, $20 a month, who cares? Just, and it doesn't matter whatever price these things are at, gold, silver, decentralized, privacy coins. You know, if you dollar cost average your way in, it always works out in the long run when you're looking at these assets that challenge the fiat monopoly. And that's really the tyranny that we have to fight head on. If you want to hack at the root of the problem, you got to look at the economics of the situation. And again, gold and silver is the way to go. Dollar cost
society.
Yeah.
You know what I did with my grandkids? We would give them, you know, I did with my kids when the iPods were a big deal in, you know, like mid 2000s or something. We'd put in their stocking, you know, it looked like an iPod. It was a 10-ounce bar of silver. Oh, thanks, Dad. Well, they're thanking me now, you know. So then with my grandkids, when we do anything, all the money, oh, I got $100. I go, you don't want that paper. That's paper. Give me a match. I'll show you what this is. So I took them down to a gold store, you know, a precious metals store, and some they have at jewelry stores that have precious metals, you know, that kind of stuff. So we went in to one that was near their home, and I go in. I said, all right, here's your money, and we wrote on a piece of paper what the value, you know, how much that they did and what they bought, and because we did mostly, you know, junk silver and stuff like that. So I go, this is what this is worth now, and we put it in a Ziploc bag. And one of the first things I got my grandkids when they were like 5, 6, they get safes, you know, a little Harbor Freight safe, you know, have something put in their closet. So we go in and we put that in there. We'll check it later. Well, it's time for me to check it. So we'll go in and I go, what was that $50, you know, then? What's it worth now? You know, how smart's Papa now? So this is, but they have to get it in silver so it's not delayed spending. What happens with young kids, they go, woo, it's worth, man, I can buy a bunch of Pokemon cards now. I mean, no. This is for, you know, when you get married. This is houses. This is cars. This is, you know, zombie apocalypse. This is, you know, whatever. And you put it in silver, it's not as easy for them to spend. I have one, you know, my grandkids, Donna got a bank, you know, it's kind of this cool, you know, window bank thing. Well, then she took all the coins that we had saved for, I don't know, years. I had by my bed. I just throw my change in there, and she gave it all to him. I'm going, do you know how much we counted? It was like $60-something. And I'm like, woohoo, you're rich, you know. Of course, I'm going through and make sure there aren't any silver dimes in them. But, you know, the thing is that they are starting to get into the saving thing with us trying to emphasize it's not delayed spending. It's not saving up for some trinket and trash that you get. This is wealth retention. This is value. This is cash. This is, you know, and one of my sons would give the grandkids crypto. Well, they were all excited, you know, but it was Bitcoin Cash, not Bitcoin that he had in his paper wallets. So this is, you know, something that we're trying to pass on to our generation next, and then build on. We got 18 acres. I got one neighbor within 5-10 miles. I got to go like 10 miles to get the next neighbor. And I'm telling you, we love it out here. Now, of course, we got to go to town. It's an hour and a half to get to the big box store kind of thing. But we're isolated from all the crap. If it wasn't for doing the show at Freedom's Phoenix and watching your videos and so on, I wouldn't even know there was a problem other than, you know, even the Harbor Freight costs more money. And I go to the grocery store, I'm like, what the crap? I had no idea. So this is the time, and preparing is now. How long do you think we have? Or is it going to crash and, oh my God, it's a food thing? By the end of the Trump administration? Well, before? After? What do you think before you go?
Well, it's tough to say. It's tough to make those predictions. But if you just look at the rate of, inflation and the degree your paper fiat dollars are having the purchasing power, going less and less and less, then it seems like it's accelerating to a point where we may just be, 3, 4, 5 years away, potentially sooner, of having a real legitimate kind of 1929 type of scenario.
Yeah.
So yes, as we see the prices of gold and silver rise, we're also seeing the purchasing power of your dollar collapse, and this is happening simultaneously. And there's only one place for this to go, is for the dollar to all out crash, them to eventually introduce a new global reserve digital currency. But hopefully you've by then have already stacked enough real money, as you said, real tangible assets like gold and silver, to be able to weather the storm. Because like you said, this isn't meant for shiny cars. This is meant for fending off the zombies when they come knocking on your door.
Yeah, or tools, ammunition, firearms, food, whatever your silver's going to buy you, just get that. I mean, we went through a list somebody had, and he goes, what's currency in the future? There's a lot of things. One thing I didn't think of was Bic lighters. He goes, man, you're going to need to have you're always welcome when you got some Bic lighters to trade for, I need a glass of water. So this is coming, and it won't happen all at once, but it will happen overnight. And when I keep been saying that for decades, and they go, what the hell are you talking? I go, you're going to see it. You see it on the horizon. You see the artillery shells over the horizon. And then all of a sudden it's Monday, and you're like, what the crap just happened? Bank holiday. You got to change it in for your crypto purple script of whatever the hell, goldmansucks.gov coin. This is happening now, right now. And the Trump administration is greasing the skids for their version of it. It's the same thing. It's they, them, those in charge of benefit, but we're benevolent. We're anti-Christ. We're pro freedom, justice, America, pinky swear, because make America great again. And we do the Trump report every Thursday. Like tomorrow we'll be doing it with, Dr. Frank Tamburri. 10 years we've been doing this since he came down the escalator. And my thing I'm like, you're still voting? I mean, it's not going to get fixed this way. My opinion, there has to be ashes. There has to be a crash. There has to be an abandonment of delegating authority to something, and the original promise that the Declaration of Independence, the Bill of Rights promise, not the Constitution so much, but the Declaration of Independence and the Bill of Rights, the promise that you are free to do whatever you want as long as you're not violating someone else's pursuit of happiness and their life liberty. When we get back to that, we will be filthy, stinking rich again, but our wealth has been sucked out of us. And when we had the increase in productivity with personal computers and cell phones in the 90s, I thought, wow, abundance is right around the corner. Look how much more productive we are, how fewer employees I have to have, how AI is the next wave of that, another wave of productivity, but it all gets sucked up by they, them, those. They just thank you for being more productive. And it's gotten to the point, you dissidents, you Dan Dicks out there being a pain in my ass, I can't even go to Bilderberger without you putting a microphone in my face, and we need to get rid of the dissidents, and damn it. So we're going to euthanize you, and we got robots. Take a shot. You'll own nothing, and here's your happy shot. It is so dystopian, we have to not comply. We have to just parallel society, get back, peace be upon thee, I don't even care, you're over the horizon, I can't even see you other than the lights coming this way. And I got time enough to build and thrive it. And the technology for desktop publication, desktop manufacturing, desktop CNC, laser center, 3D metal, whatever. You got one guy in community that knows a little bit about, computers and CAD. Guy, you're done. I'm telling men that here we go. For the first time in human history, we have the ability that's being demonstrated to make, trade, barter, create, grow, educate our own children. We can go super Amish with technology, and we're not doing it enough, but it's coming. And I see the future is going to be bright, but there's a lot on the highway to hell. There's going to be a bunch of roadkill. And Dan Dix, PressForTruthCA, you want to see the inklings of this coming and prepare yourself. Dan's one of the best at this. You know, how are you doing? I mean, Dan needs to be, kind of censored a little bit more, because everybody was saying we started putting our stuff back just recently. Since Ron Paul's birthday party, I saw Luke there, Radowski, We Are Change, and a bunch of the other guys were sharing a house and kind of hanging, and they're going, Ernie, man, it's opening up. They're censoring less. You can say, COVID instead of cornholio now. Well, you say a bunch of other stuff, they don't like it. I can guarantee that. But I'm looking at the censorship. I go, okay, we'll see what happens, because we do the IPFS thing, so they can't take it down. But I'm wondering how you're being treated. Are you replatformed? Are they coming after you? Is it open now? When it gets to World War 15, all of a sudden, and they're shutting Dan down again. What kind of censorship experience are you having?
Well, the shadow banning certainly is still an issue. I'm probably always going to be a target for censorship. Having said that, remarkably, I've had my YouTube channel recently restored, as of a lot of other people have as well. And so maybe this is just another little tiny window of opportunity to try to, reach as many people as possible. And I'm jumping all over it, Ernie. I'm, posting daily videos, not just to YouTube. Obviously, I'm on about 9 other platforms. Right. You got BitChute and Rumble and Hives and Band, Odyssey. It just goes on and on. I've really diversified my video sharing platforms. Because that's what it takes these days. Because you can't just put all your eggs in one basket anymore, as many of us have learned the hard way. So I'm just plugging away, man. I eat, sleep, and breathe Press for Truth. I launched it 19 years ago now. July of 2026 is going to be my 20th year. So I'm not about to slow down anytime soon, no matter what. Yeah.
Are you going to try and? I know you talked about before that you may get some land and start being a little bit more autonomous and so on. Is that still a goal? Absolutely.
Absolutely. This is something me and my wife are working on as we speak, working towards this. And, we're going to make it happen. We're getting by, slowly but surely, but we're getting by the good grace of God. And Lord willing, I'm going to be able to continue. So, thank you so much for promoting, me over the years and continuing to raise awareness about what we're trying to do here in Canada. We really do.
Yeah, one less thing I got to do. Dan's doing it. Hell, you can go watch Dan. This is one thing I want to show you just for your, you go under technology on Occupy the Land. Now, this links in with our Pirates Without Borders page, where I've been taking all the decentralization tech. So like you go to energy, you click on the icon, and it goes to, maybe they don't have it connected. We just started doing that. Well, I'll go over here. I go to PiratesWithoutBorders.com. At the top, these icons up here, if you click on energy, say, well, here's all of these different ways that you can power your land. Every single freaking, depends if you got hydro systems, water, what kind of solar system, the development and the top tech news of whatever. Same thing for communication, shelter, how to build, different things, different building techniques for different. We did this. There's thousands of this on shelter, food, water, healthcare, transportation, animation, education. We went on it. Then the philosophy of decentralization, the letters of Captain Mark and Reprisal, and it's all about what? Why I raised my black banner. Yeah, this is on a bunch of different issues. We have our philosophy up there. Well, we interface this tech that allows for the decentralization, and we interface that with Freedom's Phoenix is my dashboard, and then with Occupy the Land, you know, that people can go and see it. That you have that research, as you can see how much power are solar panels, why are they different, which one, where are they sourced, where can you buy it, what kind of things you need to watch out for, what about wiring, and it's gotten so much easier. So, you know, take a look at that. You know, if you got some questions on anything, there's a lot of information out there, and we spent a lot of time trying to bring that together to make it an easier decision to do this. But I'm from the perspective of the desert, so I have no idea what you're going to do in Canada. So you let me know.
Yeah, I will. Like I said, I've got no intention of slowing down. So yeah, again, really appreciate you having me on, and stay tuned for more. I mean, subscribe obviously to all those channels, but the best place to go is PressForTruthCA, because we don't know when they're going to pull the plug on any of or all of these channels, but at least I control that. So that's the best place to go.
Yep. Go there. Breaking news. You know, this is, and you're putting up stuff, what, every day almost? I mean, you were saying?
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah. Just about. Yeah. I mean, I take, I don't work on Sundays, but for the most part, yeah, I'm bagging out daily videos, as much as I can anyways, because there's certainly no shortage of stuff to talk about here in Canada, especially. So.
Yeah, I know. Well, I appreciate you coming on, you know, spending this time with us. I think it's stuff that people need to know. They need to understand, you know, what's going on. And, you know, I put in, you know, Dan Dixon, a search on Freedom's Phoenix or Press for Truth, and it blows up all over the place. We pretty much archived all your stuff. And another thing is we IPFS every day the entire site. Derek Slopey set that up so that when you can't find it anywhere. That was one thing when the shadow banning, that's right, we did that for you. We put Press for Truth on IPFS back in the day to show we could, and then when they, you know, wiped everybody, I'm like, yeah, you know, where do you want to get it now, huh? So this has been, to save Press for Truth has been, you know, a goal of ours, because it's such great information. That join in the Liberty community. Dan Dix has been one of the men. And it's always the wife, you know, you got to put her in there because it's always the team. And I want to make sure that people have access to it. So we get a commitment from Dan. He's going to send us banner ads, so you can easily just go to Freedom's Phoenix and, you know, just click and get the daily. If we don't have it up there, he does. And that is a pinky swear promise that he has made to me. Yeah, say it.
I'll say it right here live on air. I will get you the